Okay. Okay, so the front side of your opener today says use the fast factor method to factor each of the following. Now, when can you only use the fast factor method?
When there's a letter in the front.
Yeah, when there's just the letter in the front, or meaning the coefficient is 1. Okay, so when I fast factor, the first thing that I need to do is what? Ben? What am I going to do first here, you guys?
Find the N and
Find the M. What's the M?
6.
And what's the A?
5.
Okay, so what's the MA of 6 and 5? Can I multiply together to get 6, but add together to get 5?
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Now I use these two numbers here to go ahead and fast factor. So Riley, what's my final answer going to look like?
A plus 2 parentheses and then A plus 3.
Good. And that's your final answer. Now, if you don't want to fast factor because you're not sure if that answer is correct, you could still draw an area model out to the side, but fast factoring is going to be so much quicker. All right, Jenna, do the next one for me.
The M is 28 and the A is 11 and 4 and 7, which is
Okay.
that'd be parentheses B plus 4 B plus 7.
Now, could my answer be B plus 7 times B plus 4? Yeah, it doesn't matter if your groupings are switched around. Okay. All right, let's look at the third one. Danny, third one goes to you.
Oh, I did this completely wrong.
That's okay. Let's work through it together then.
Maybe I did. So your M is 1 and 32.
Which equals?
32.
Okay.
And then your A is 12. And the factors are 4 and 8.
Okay.
And then it would be C plus 4 and then C plus 8. That's the only part that I did wrong. I was like, wait a second, I'm missing something.
What were you doing?
I just didn't do the final part.
Oh, you were. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did that.
All right. Ooh, next one has a negative in it. Riley.
The M is negative 24.
Good. Take that negative with it.
And then A is 5.
Okay.
And 4 times 8 or negative 3 times 8.
So I'm using 3 and 8, and it's going to be a negative 3 because my M is negative. My M is negative. My A is positive, which means my smaller number is negative. Very good. Okay.
And parentheses D negative 3. And then parentheses D plus 8.
Questions on that one? Feel pretty good about it?
Yeah, good.
Good. All right, last one. Logan, let's have you do this one. So what's your M?
Sorry. It is 16.
Okay, your A.
Negative 16.
Okay. What's your MA? What can you multiply together to get 60, but add together to get negative 16?
Can you do this one?
Let's look. Let's look. So because they're negative, we can
You
either
have
add these together
Or you have
to get 16, or we can subtract them.
You have to subtract them.
Okay, but do we? Can I add any of these together to get 16?
Yeah. 6
What?
and 10.
Okay, now let's look. Let's use those 6 and 10. Now, because your M is a positive and your A is a negative, what has to happen to both of these numbers? Because your m,
Yeah, it has to be
It's a negative.
No, subtract a small number.
no, because your m is a
Small
positive
number.
and your a is a negative. Both numbers have to be,
I'm doing it. I did. Okay. Both
have to be
subtract.
negative. So if we take negative 6 plus negative 10, we'll get negative 16.
Oh,
If we take negative 6 times negative 10, we'll get positive 60. Okay, so how would I write my answer out?
E minus 6.
Times, bless you.
E minus 10.
Okay, so that's what your quiz is going to be over. So make sure you have all the answers down correctly, you have your answers boxed, and then flip your opener over to the back side. We're gonna go ahead and do 2 examples from our lesson yesterday, just to kind of refresh our memory, because after the quiz today, you guys are gonna have the remainder of class time to work on worksheets that are due this week, and then worksheet 8.9, which is due Monday, okay? Okay, so it says factor each of the following by grouping. So you may need to refer to your notes from yesterday if you don't remember them, but the first step when I factor by grouping is to do what?
And then
Find my MA still. So my M is,
negative 120.
so you took 12 times negative 10 to get negative 120, okay? And your A,
7.
okay? So what's the MA going to be? What can I multiply to get negative 120 and add together to get 7? So let's look. So negative 120, which of those can I either add together to get 7 or subtract together to get 7? 8 and 15. Now, which of those numbers is going to be negative?
Negative 8.
The smaller one. Good. Negative 8. Okay. Now, the negative 8 and 15, if I combine those or add them together, that's going to get me the 7x. So then we go into step 2. Step 2, if you recall, says to keep the first term and the third term the same. Then the second term is going to be split of the m and the a. So how would I write that down, Jenna?
Be 12x minus 8x plus 15x minus 10.
Nice. Okay. Then I move down to the third step. The third step says I'm going to put these in pairs. Okay, so I'm going to put them in pairs or in a group. And I'm going to find the greatest common factor of each pair. So what's the greatest common factor of 12 and 8 going to be? What's the greatest common factor of 12 and 8 going to be?
1.
It's
I disagree. Do the factor trees if you need to
2 or 1?
for this first one.
Wait, it's 4
For what?
x.
Okay. And now, what's the greatest common factor for 15 and 10? Ignore the negatives. What's the greatest factor for 15 and 10? 5. Now, what's the sign in front of the 15?
Negative.
Negative. We're going to bring that down. I misspoke on yesterday on that lesson. That's why we couldn't get the third one figured out. Okay. Now, once I found the greatest common factor, I'm going to use those to factor my groups. Okay? So that's where I think 4x times what gets me to 12x squared?
Why is the 15 negative?
You bring down the operation sign in front of the second grouping.
Yeah,
45.
Isn't it supposed to be a positive?
No.
Wouldn't it be negative 8 and plus 15?
What are you looking at?
Okay, so look at
So the greatest common factor of 12x squared minus 8x is 4x. The greatest common factor of 15x and 10 is 5, right? I bring down the sign in front of my number here to represent my 5 here.
Yep. Okay, so when you were doing your M and A, it's negative 8 comma 15. Wouldn't that be a positive?
It would be a positive 15. Thank you. I see what you're saying now. So then that negative in front of the 5 would be a positive. Who all caught that? Anybody catch that? Who caught it? Raise your hand if you actually saw it.
Can I actually have an extra piece of candy then?
Who all saw it? That's it? Just Riley or just Jenna and Ben? Didn't you see it too, Riley? Okay, all right. So what do we do from here? So we go ahead and factor it. So 4x times what gets me to 12x squared?
3
3 what?
x
Then what?
minus 2
Good. Okay. Then I go to my second group. 5 times what gets me to 15x?
3 x
Okay, then what?
minus 2
Good. And now I'm ready to write my final answer. So when I write my final answer, you can either do your groups first or the ones on the outside of your parentheses. So what's my grouping of my parentheses, you guys?
3x minus 2
So 3x minus 2 times, okay, and then what was outside of my parentheses left over?
4x minus
4x plus 5
5 minus
plus.
What is that
Oh,
next to the 3?
What's that?
What is that next to the 3?
Minus 2
No, the other side.
plus 5?
No.
Come show me.
In the box. Yeah.
3x minus 2 times 4x plus 5.
Yeah, I know which one's 2.
Man, you guys are hard today.
I did the next one on my own.
No. No, we need you all.
Way
We need you all.
faster.
Okay. Step 1, Maddie, do for me.
M equals 4 times 15 equals 60.
A,
16.
MA,
Have to find factors for 16, which I got 2 and 8.
if you use 2 and 8, you need to find what you can multiply together to get 60, but then add together to get 16 using the factors of 60. So do me a favor. Look at 60 on your blue sheet.
16? Oh.
So 60 on your blue sheet. Now, which of those factors can you add together to get 16?
Okay.
6 and 10.
Yes.
Okay. All right, step 2. Hannah. Complete step 2 for me. Ben, please put your hood down.
I can write the problem.
Okay, do that for me. Your first term stays the same, which is what? Okay, then what do we write? Now remember, my second term is broken up of the MA. So what do we get for that second term when we broke it up?
6 and 10.
So plus 6, what variable goes with it? Okay, plus then 10, what variable goes with it? Okay, and then my third term stays the same. What's my third term? Okay. Step 2, Riley.
Gotta group them together.
Okay. And find what?
I don't know what it's called.
Can somebody help him? What's that called that you're finding of these two numbers?
But I think it'd be 2, wouldn't
It would be 2. 2 what?
it? 2W.
What's this 2W called, you guys? Anybody? What's that 2W called? Anybody? No. The height or the greatest common factor. Okay? So then what's the greatest common factor for my second group?
3, 5.
5. Good.
Yeah, 5.
And what's the operation sign in front of the 10?
Negative.
What's the operation sign in front of the 10?
Positive.
So I bring that on down. Now, do I have this all right, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and use the greatest common factor to factor up our groupings. So 2W times what gets to 4W squared?
2W plus
Okay. Then 2W times what gets me to 6W?
3 plus 3.
Plus 3. Okay, let's look at the next one. We do the same thing. So what's it gonna look like inside my parentheses here, Logan?
What?
So I'm going from 5 times what gets me to 10W?
2.
To what?
2W.
And then 5 times what gets me to positive 15?
3.
Positive 3. All right, Jenna, final answer.
Parentheses 2W plus 3 and 2W plus 5. No, yeah.
And box. Right? We good?